Okay, so today was day one in the Lori Daybell case, and this is her first of two cases here in Arizona. This case focuses on the death of her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. So it was a packed courtroom today. There were actually some people that didn't get a spot in. Some of them waited and were able to get in a little bit later on. And we had opening statements, but we also had a few things that happened at the beginning of court. So I want to talk through those really quickly. We had a juror who brought up that this was going to cause financial hardship. And we actually saw during jury selection last week that the judge repeatedly said, if there are any issues with work, if there are other concerns, please bring them up now. So they talked through that. He said that he had alimony and child support to pay, and this was going to cause a financial burden. He had a letter from his employer as well, so they ended up dismissing him. I also want to say that in the courtroom was Brandon Boudreaux, and I want you to remember that name because I'm going to talk through a little bit of how we got here, and he is involved in Daybell's second case here in Arizona. So first and foremost, before we start with opening statements for day one, how we got here. So this trial will focus on Lori being accused of conspiring to kill her husband, her fourth husband, Charles Vallow, who was shot and killed in 2019 by Lori's brother, Alex Cox. He claimed at the time it was self-defense. Very important to understand that Cox died a few months later of apparent natural causes. So that is what this case will focus on. Her second case is going to focus on she's accused of conspiring to kill her niece's ex-husband, Brandon Boudreaux, who was in the courtroom today, who was watching, and Daybell actually tried to get him on the witness list. He was struck from the witness list without prejudice, means she can try again, and the judge wanted to see a little bit more about why he would be relevant to the trial, asking to produce text messages or things like that. So for now, he is off the witness list and he was listening in court. So we had opening statements today and we saw an emotional Lori Daybell after prosecutors laid out their case in about 45 minutes. So we'll get to Daybell. Prosecutors are alleging that Daybell conspired to kill Vallow with her brother, Alex Cox, that they knew when and where this was going to happen. And it was all under the guise of religious beliefs and kind of these doomsday beliefs as well. And they accuse Daybell of telling her friends, telling other people that Charles Vallow had been taken over by this spirit that she was calling Ned. So they laid out their case and a very careful timeline of what they say happened and who and what the jury is going to see in terms of evidence and testimony to prove that Daybell conspired to kill Charles Vallow. So that took about 45 minutes to have their opening statements. And then we saw Daybell, who spoke in the afternoon, spoke for about 17 minutes, and she was emotional at times, describing that her daughter, Tylee Ryan, had had this tumultuous relationship with her stepfather, Charles Vallow, that they had gotten into arguments. And on the day that Charles Vallow was shot and killed, that Vallow and Daybell had gotten into this arguments, that he was screaming at her, is what she says. And then Tylee and her brother jumped in to help defend her. And Alex Cox ended up shooting her fourth husband in self-defense. So as I said, she got emotional at times, but that's the only time we saw Lori Daybell get emotional day one. I saw her shake her head a few times while the prosecution was doing their opening statement, but we saw her also, Lori Daybell, as she represents herself, during cross-examination. So prosecutors were able to call 3 witnesses, 2 Chandler police officers and a Chandler firefighter to the stand. We saw Lori Daybell cross-examine them, but at times it seemed like she was having a hard time getting a line of questioning that actually went to a point. The Chandler police officers testified that when they interacted with Alex Cox, he seemed calm, and they talked about that a little bit. And Daybell seemed to try and at one point have a line of questioning that would make it normal for him to be calm or for her to be calm, as they were on body camera and they were showing that body camera and describing it as well. So, but there were times that the prosecutors objected, that they told her that she was actually giving her own testimony instead of asking questions, saying that she was bringing hearsay into her questions. So we saw that there are challenges. So cross-examination by Daybell with the firefighter will pick up on Tuesday. That will be day 2 in court, but it will be very interesting to see how this continues to play out, how this cross-examination continues to go, and what the next few days looks like as the state makes their case. Now, there won't be court on Friday, but I will be in the courtroom every single day, and I'm going to be doing these debrief videos as well. If you have questions or specific things that you want covered, please write ABC15 or write me as well and let me know, and we will try to cover them and try to answer those questions as we go.